everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Wisconsin Weather Experts, the last episode of 2025.
Yeah, crazy to think,
Very crazy.
right?
It's New Year's
I
Eve.
know, Jimmy Kimmel's going to make fun of us for that,
Oh, gosh.
But it's true. I mean, it's very true. We all say it because it just feels like the year flies by and it's this weird sprint to the finish all day long here at Fox 6. We've been asking what day of the week it is.
I do. I feel so off.
Right. It feels like a Friday because, we're going into the new year and the holiday. But it is a Wednesday. I double-checked, and you're right. It is the last Wednesday of 2025. Now, we're relatively lucky here. We'll have our regional forecast in a bit, but for millions of people in the eastern U.S. in particular, 2025 is not going gently into the afterlife. It's a massive winter storm, and it's bringing strong winds, heavy snow, bitter cold temperatures. The Great Lakes, the lower Great Lakes region hit very, very hard. Northeast parts of New York State, they could see more than a foot of snow there on New Year's Day.
We got about 30, 40 inches of snow already. Oh my God. Yeah, that's too much. It ain't never be like this.
Wow.
That is a lot. Having lived in upstate New York, they get a lot of snow there. So yes, they're sort of used to it, but this is, of course, at a time when millions of people are trying to travel, maybe getting home for the new year. According to FlightAware, nearly 9,000 flights were delayed already. Hundreds of others canceled. That was just on Monday alone.
That is a lot of snow. And now we go over to Maine, where things were actually pretty dangerous. Unfortunately, cars faced dangerous conditions this morning in northeastern Maine as fresh snow piled on top of ice left behind from sleet and freezing rain. So this video shows icy roads as well as limited visibility. The National Weather Service reports up to 10 inches of snow in some areas, warning roads could be impassable due to blowing snow and ice underneath. That's just the worst combination.
Yeah, no doubt. It's kind of like what we had on Monday,
yeah,
right? I mean,
absolutely.
We definitely had that mix of freezing on the underside after the rain and then the light snow on top of it. And then we go to the West Coast for heavy rain in recent days. They're causing huge problems for California. Temporary road closures right across the Pacific Coast Highway because of these rainstorms and the risk of debris, what they call debris flows. You can see the impact right there from the rainstorms in the area. Travelers in that area are being told to just plan alternate routes to their destination. Now, on the upside, the same series of late December storms has brought some much needed rain and snow to California's snowpack and water supply. It's kind of helped counter the early season dry trend in that area. The Water Resources Department says the first snow survey of the season recorded 24 inches, so 2 feet of snow depth. That's pretty good for areas that could use it for skiing, and 5-inch snow water content. So that's about half the average at this date. So they're still actually technically on the dry side when it comes to the snow. April is typically when the California snowpack is at its peak.
Thankful for at least little benefits because it has been so active out west.
Hit very, very hard. So if it has any upside at all, like making for a better snow season and helping with the water supply out there, yeah, we'll take the win. For us, we've got a little bit of light snow, but we're also focused on the cold. So let's kick off our regional outlook here.
Yeah, let's take a look across the country. There are a lot of quiet spots, but there are 2 specific spots that are pretty active right now, and we are one of them, though our snow is relatively light. New England states, of course, as we just talked about, still dealing with plenty of heavy snowfall. And then there's all of the rain still falling in the southwest, especially across parts of California. Now, notice Minneapolis over to Milwaukee. So you can see southern Minnesota and central and southern Wisconsin dealing with some snow at this point. Not going to accumulate a ton, maybe an additional inch here in the Milwaukee area and surrounding areas, but it is reducing visibility. Thankfully, temperatures right now have not dropped in southern Wisconsin, but they have up towards the north. So I do think going forward with some of this snow still lingering into the afternoon, we will still need to watch for some slippery spots, but this is quite a cold front. This is really going to allow temperatures to just plummet heading into our late afternoon and then evening and overnight hours. Just a closer look at some of the snow we have here locally. Again, it's pretty spotty across central and southern Wisconsin. Even a little bit of drizzle here, as you can see, in far northeastern parts of Iowa and far southwest Wisconsin. It's not out of the question for southwest and south central Wisconsin to see just some brief drizzle to start. And that's because temperatures in some spots are near or just above freezing in some of these southern communities. But it will primarily be just some of this light snow, kind of comparable to what we experienced yesterday. So this is only going to continue for a few more hours. And again, notice down towards the south in Illinois where temperatures will have more time to warm ahead of the front. This could be more of that drizzle or maybe a little bit of mix, but primarily the light snow here. After about 5 or 6 o'clock, all of this should be down towards the south and out of our area. So if you're planning on heading to an early New Year's Eve celebration in the next couple of hours in southern Wisconsin, you'll encounter some light snow. But then if you're holding things off until later tonight, the snow will have ended, but we're still going to need to watch for slippery spots because of that big temperature drop. Now for New Year's Day, more cloud cover, maybe a few flurries. That's about it. It's all about the cold going forward after this light batch of snow pushes through. Now towards the west, you can see that rain is in place. It is barely moving. So parts of California dealing with heavy rainfall right now. They have the chance to see more of it in the coming days. In fact, you can see the heavy rainfall outlook around LA and that slight risk there. This continues through Thursday and even into Friday. So they have a decent amount of time, especially around the Los Angeles area, under flood watches. And we dealt with this last week and the week before that, one of those atmospheric rivers where, again, it just brings storm system after storm system. So the rain threat does continue. Now, talking about temperatures and the cold, we mentioned this yesterday, but parts of Florida also going to experience some abnormally cool air for this part of the season. Of course, not as cold as what we're going to have here locally, but they have frost as well as freeze headlines across the panhandle. And then up towards the north, actually a cold weather advisory in effect for north central and northeastern Minnesota. Going to be a little colder than what those of us in southern Wisconsin and Milwaukee will see. But we ourselves are going to feel that temperature drop too. The cold front is working its way in as we speak, and you can see behind it those colder temperatures, those pinks and white color contours indicating where temperatures right now may only be in the single digits in a handful of spots. This is actually a look at where we're at currently. It's only 12 in Rhinelander, 19 in Wausau, but then you get towards the south and we're actually hanging on to some warmer air at this point in time. Just know it's brief, it's deceiving, it's not going to last for too much longer. Going forward again this afternoon, this is later this evening, you can see the entire state just experiences that pretty big temperature drop. Overnight tonight, we're looking at single digits, maybe even below zero in northern parts of our state. And then high temperatures on New Year's Day will stay in the teens in a lot of spots. So all of this cold does continue into New Year's Day. When it comes to our feel-like temperatures, this is a preview of tomorrow morning. So waking up tomorrow morning, maybe you're trying to get out early, starting the day on the right foot. Wind chills will likely be in the teens below zero, and then up towards the north, maybe even the 20s below zero. Thankfully, this is a fairly brief cold spell. You can see how temperatures will still be below average heading into the weekend, but at least they'll be back to 20s, not the teens that we're looking at for Thursday. And then by early next week, temperatures may actually be back to mid 30s. Just know, again, it's a big night to be out and about, big night to celebrate. Make sure you bring the thick jacket.
Yeah.
You're gonna need it, I promise you.
Exactly. I know you've been planning the outfit for who knows how long at this point, right?
Yeah.
But cover it up with a big jacket and hang the jacket up, go to the party, put the jacket on.
Exactly. No one's going to judge you.
No.
Promise you.
I was joking this morning in our morning editorial meeting that frostbite is not fashion forward.
No.
You do not want that.
No.
No matter how great you look in the outfit. All right, so take care of yourselves. Now, we're worried about the cold air. They're worried about rain for a parade. Yeah, a little over 24 hours away from the annual New Year's Day Rose Bowl parade in Southern California. And for the first time in 20 years, rain is in the forecast. So regardless of the weather, the parade is going to go on. It is definitely crunch time for the crews there, putting the final touches on those famous floats. Organizers say the floats are built to withstand rain, but all those flowers, they of course do absorb moisture, so that'll make the floats slightly heavier when wet. It could be quite a bit heavier.
People don't realize is the amount of detail that goes into it, the pumpkin seeds that are placed ever so precisely, and the beans and the seeds and the flowers. It is a true work of art.
Now, organizers say the floats are built, as we said, to withstand the rain, but they will absorb the moisture and the floats will get heavier, so that could be a bit of a problem. Be sure to check out our streaming coverage of the Rose Parade tomorrow. Just pull it up on Fox Local on your phone. Coverage begins at 9 a.m. with the parade at 10 a.m. And you can have a multi-screen experience then. You can watch Fox 6 and you can watch Fox Local with the parade on your phone.
There you go. Hopefully they get a nice little lull right in time for the parade.
Yeah, just a little window.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a pretty long parade, so they need a couple hours at
True.
least, but it'd be nice if they can
We can hope.
ease that up. And then it's what the Greendale Marching Band.
Yes, they
Greendale High
are
School
a part of
Marching
it
Band.
as well.
That is so exciting to have a local component in that, so check it out on Fox Local tomorrow. Check us out in just a couple of minutes. We'll be right back with more Wisconsin weather experts.
Welcome back, everybody, to Wisconsin Weather Experts. Well, I know we're talking incoming cold air for later this afternoon and evening, but we've also experienced our fair share of above average temperatures this winter. Meteorologist Rob Haswell had the opportunity to sit down with Climate Central's Shel Winkley to talk stats about warming winters.
We are joined by Shel Winkley of Climate Central, and yes, it is an interesting start to a brand new season. So as we look ahead, we need to also look backward and kind of get some precedents for what is going on. First off, thank you so much for joining Wisconsin Weather Experts again today.
Yeah, always happy to be here, and yeah, it's been an interesting start to winter already. But let's dive into the season.
Yeah, as we turn the corner here and kind of get toward the actual start of astronomical winter, not necessarily meteorological winter, which started on December 1st, we start to think about, not only the winters of the future. So obviously we want to see if we can get through this one in one piece, but also we kind of look back on winters past and see how things have changed over the decades.
Yeah, and what's interesting is this winter really came out of the gate swinging, right? You've seen cold air, you've seen snowfall across portions of the upper Midwest as well as the Northeast. So this winter actually feels like a winter for most of the United States. But if you think back to recent winters, that just hasn't really been the case. So it's not to say that every winter is going to be abnormally warm, but we do understand that the general trend is up. So I pulled the data there from Milwaukee, and you can see that winter is the fastest warming season there in the city. We'll dive into the numbers here in a bit, but really when it comes down to where our winters are warming the fastest, when you look across the United States, on average since 1970, we've seen an average of 3.9 degrees in terms of warming. But look where those deep reds are. It's where you live. It's the upper Midwest. It's the Northeast. It's the places that cold weather is really expected. The benchmark is much lower. So any little bit of warming is really going to raise that up. And it's a place that we've seen our nighttime temperatures warm as well during the winter.
There you go. And I think it's interesting. You're right. It's hitting in places where winter is part of the culture, part of the tradition. Even if you just look at Wisconsin there, it's the northern half that's warming more significantly than the southern half.
Right. And we know that has impacts. We've seen it in winters past where some of those winter recreations are maybe sloppier or maybe come on a short order. Things like ice pond hockey or ice fishing, things like that, right?
So snowmobile trails last winter in Wisconsin, snowmobile trails up in the classic, destinations like Eagle River really struggled because they just didn't have the snowpack.
Right. And part of that is we don't get to enjoy the winter recreation we like, but it's also tourism. It's dollars. That's the economy that's at play here for a warming winter. So diving into the data, do you want the good news or maybe the bad news first?
Let's do the bad news first. Then it'll feel even better when we get to the good news.
Okay. So Milwaukee is the second fastest warming city when it comes to the season of winter. You've seen an average warmth of 7.3 degrees since 1970. So that's the bad news. Is that you're number two? You want to know the good news?
Yes.
You're not number one.
All right. Who's number one?
Burlington, Vermont, 8.1 degrees Fahrenheit of warming that they've experienced over the past 50 to 55 years. So here's what this means to you. 23 additional days on average that you expect to be above normal, so above what you would typically expect. Doesn't mean it's still not chilly outside, just it's above the average than we experienced just a couple decades ago. So what that now translates to, instead of 34% of your winter expected to be above average, because weather has natural variability of back and forths, now 59% of winter on average is expected to experience above average temperatures.
Interesting. So the winter season essentially, in its classic sense, has shrunken. I mean, the
Right.
actual time frame of it is going to remain the same. Our orbit, our tilt hasn't changed, but the actual, classic definition has changed just a little bit. And I love the way these graphics are laid out that you guys make for us here because it shows the trend line, but it also shows the year to year. And it's important to do that because not every winter has been warmer, but overall, since 1970, there's been a warming trend.
Right. And we understand that there are different things. Like this is a La Nina winter. So it's one of the reasons that we can experience the cold weather we've seen already. But you take these big global patterns, you take the weather that we normally experience in winter, and then you layer in the data, and we understand the influence that climate change has here for our weather during the winter season. And you kind of mentioned it. We're still going to experience cold. You're
Right.
still going to get winter episodes. You're still going to get periods of extreme cold. There is still cold weather when it comes to winter, even in a warming world. But we understand, like I think you said the words, winter is shrinking. So that means it takes longer for those winter temperatures to arrive most years. And it's to be seen for this season. But we also understand that springtime is creeping into the end of winter, which is really just eating in on the season at both ends.
Yeah, it's kind of fascinating how that has been shifting. And, something that we've talked about a lot in our chats over the last year or so has been the fact that warmer air holds more moisture. So even slightly warmer air in the winter could mean more snow.
Exactly. Because again, there is still cold air. So when we're putting all the pieces together, more of that moisture, and you really have seen that. We've talked about it so much, I think,
Right.
between the two of us, but the flooding we saw over the summer, including the event there in the city. Recently, the Pacific Northwest episode that happened with the atmospheric river. So
Right.
you can still see the signs of us holding on to an almost record amount of moisture globally. So yeah, you get the right weather system coupled with the right temperatures, and you can still get some pretty blockbuster winter storms that produce quite a bit of snow.
Right, which makes it a very difficult message to really convey to the general public because, on one hand, we're talking about winter shrinking, yet on the other hand, we're saying there's the potential for even bigger snowstorms. So it feels like a mixed message, but it is all connected to the fact that the climate is warming, the atmosphere is becoming greedier and giving us back these bigger events. However, it also means that we might have more rain events like have experienced the last few winters here in the Milwaukee area, and unfortunately might see creep up on us and wash away our white Christmas.
Yeah, perfect example of that was Denver, Colorado last year. Christmas Day, a cold, I want to say sad, but a cold, sad Christmas rain that a lot of
Yeah.
people, when I looked at social media, were upset about it. And yes, the next day they ended up getting snow there, but it just goes to show, and when we look at these days specifically, like this upcoming Christmas, December 25th for most of the country, according to the Climate Prediction Center, and looking at the models going out there, it's expected to be pretty much above average for a good portion of the United States. So then we can really dive into the data and understand how much more likely a temperature is like, when it comes to that. But that's a good point. Even if you get a big snowfall, but then the next event is going to maybe be a rain, then you're going to kind of knock away at that snowpack, like you mentioned. That's important for things like
Right.
snowmobiling or
Right.
whatever winter wreck that you
Well,
want
it
to get
makes
out.
very unsafe ice for ice fishermen and for, of course, pond hockey and all that kind of stuff because you're having this freeze thaw cycle that you wouldn't typically have after a certain point, and so that ice just isn't as structurally sound.
Yeah, and man, I forget what year it was, but it wasn't too long ago. I remember there was a big severe weather event. So there was snow on the ground, and then there was a tornado that happened as there's
Yes,
snow and Christmas lights out.
that was only a
Um,
couple of years back. Yeah.
yeah, so it really just it shows you that winter whiplash that you can experience and what these warming temperatures, those trend lines,
Mhm.
what those really translate into for this winter season.
Right, there you go. All right, well, thank you so much for joining us for a chat. It'll be interesting to continue this conversation as we get deeper into the season this year because, as you pointed out, we are in a La Nina season, which does have its unique quirks.
Right. And again, we understand this is just the beginning. So we
Yes.
still have a lot of winter to go. We'll see where it ends up.
That's right. And of course, when we chat next, we'll have even more data to talk about. I appreciate your time, Shell. We will join you again in a few weeks here on the Wisconsin Weather Experts.
Yeah, always happy to do it.
Thanks.
And we're always so thankful for those chats with Shel Winkley at Climate Central. Always very enlightening and insightful information on our local weather, and of course, our winters, our wacky seasons. We have just a little bit more coming up on Wisconsin Weather Experts. Stay with us. We'll see you back here in 2 minutes. Welcome back, everybody.
Yeah. It is the last couple of minutes of our show. I want to make sure that we say a Happy New Year, and so many ways to celebrate.
Yes, so many. In fact, let's start with the Bucks. Maybe you're heading to their game tonight. They're bringing in 2026 with a bang. The team takes on the Washington Wizards tonight at Fiserv Forum. Now, after the game, fans can stick around for fireworks in the Deer District.
Cool.
That is scheduled to start at 10 p.m.
That's perfect timing. You still get home and get to bed.
Agreed.
As you're going to be out in the cold tonight, though, in Milwaukee, there are some warming shelters open across the city if you need them. List of locations is on your screen. They are open overnight from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. You can also call 211 to get connected with resources near you, or if you know someone that needs help to get out of the cold.
Yes, please take advantage of those warming locations. And now there are lots of other amazing ways to ring in the new year. Of course, there's the New York City that has the ball drop, but in Plymouth, they lower a big wedge of cheese. I'd argue that's better than the crystal ball. The tradition pays tribute to the city's the cheese capital of the world. In case you didn't know, the drop happens also at 10 o'clock tonight.
I love it. Very Midwest to be. It's like, yeah, midnight's late. Let's do it at 10, and then we
do
can
it
get home
early.
safely. Of course, you could do your New Year with a splash. Be courageous enough to take on some of the crowds out there gathering from Milwaukee's Bradford Beach. Polar plunge.
Oh my gosh.
I guess they say it's an adrenaline rush. Others say it's a bonding moment with friends and family. The big plunge will take place at noon tomorrow. It is free, because who would pay to do that?
That means Rob's doing it.
No way. Yes, the organizers do recommend wearing something on your feet and bringing dry, loose-fitting clothing for when you get out. Milwaukee Fire Department paramedics will be in the water just in case anyone needs help. They say it is invigorating. I did it once accidentally at the Toronto Boat Show. I didn't know they filled the indoor pond that they made directly from Lake Ontario in the middle of January.
Oh, gosh.
No one told me until after I was like, oh, it'll be funny if I jump in. And I don't think I'll do that again.
You came out with icicles?
I did, and my muscles were sore for days. My whole body just went into
Now,
track.
technically, the lake water might be balmy compared to the air temps at that point in
That's true.
time.
You might want to get in the water to warm up. I don't think that's how it's going to work out.
No.
If you do go down to that event, though, again, not to be that guy, but be careful,
Yes.
right? We want you to be safe and have a great 2026. And we have to thank you so much for supporting this brand new show here. Wisconsin Weather Experts came into being in 2025, and you've supported it all along the way. In fact, you made us #1 yesterday, so we really appreciate
Thank you.
that. Yeah. You have an amazing new year. We'll see you back in 2026.